I bought tickets to Woodstock 99. People were wildly unwell. They had knocked over the porta-johns. They were sliding through the porta-john water. I hit a red light, and she was like yapping in my ear about whatever it was. And I was like, you know what? Sounds like we're done here. And she's like, what do you mean? I said, you're out of the wedding. I was like, we got to get out of here. So I jumped up front, pushed out the window with maybe a foot, jumped out, got her out, and we sprung the joint.
Welcome to Mocktails or
Missy.
This is Ryan Frankowski and
Kelly Mizgorski.
And we have in the studio today one of our favorite, I don't want to even give away like the details about how we met, but it's Missy Cuban Ramirez. Or
Cuban
just
Ramirez.
Let's
just
go
Ramirez. Let's
go
be
with
honest.
Missy Ramirez. She's hiding behind the mask. You want to give us a little insight why we have to be in the mask today?
Yeah, so my son Jax has a pretty rare autoimmune disorder called IPEX, and I stay masked, and we stay generally isolated to protect him from any actual illness or virus, to be honest with you.
Well, thank you for making the time to sit down with us. We are
Yes.
super excited to educate people on your son Jax and his journey, but also we want to learn a lot about Missy today, the mom behind the operation. So thank you, right?
I love that.
Yeah.
Nobody ever asked me about me, so this is fun.
Oh, for sure. And you're a character. I've followed your TikTok. I've seen your Instagram reels. You definitely have that je ne sais quoi for the camera.
Oh, I like that too. I like a little gassing up while I'm here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. We wish we could see what you look like, but for privacy reasons and for your son's autoimmune disease, we want to make sure that you're protected. So thank you for making the time to come into the studio, protecting ourselves. Next time we will have our masks as well.
It's cool.
It's good?
Yeah,
we're
cool.
good? Because
We're cool.
we could grab them too.
No, I'm
Okay.
totally cool. I'm totally
Okay,
cool.
okay.
I spend all my life with everybody who is masked or isn't masked, but as long as I'm protecting, I feel good about it.
Yes,
You know?
yes, and that's an N95 mask too.
It is.
See, I know my stuff.
You
A
do. It's
little
also
bit.
recyclable because that's important for me.
Ooh, I like the sound of that, especially with all these plastic and, well, there's some glass in there, you know?
We've got mostly glass and cans here that we can recycle.
Yeah. So, Kelly, what are we drinking today?
This is the Dirty Pelican Spicy Margarita. I have a little bit of tequila in mine.
Yes, you got
what
the
do you-
Alto. You got the
Yes,
Alto. And
yeah.
same with Missy. How do you like this Dirty Pelican Spicy Margarita?
I love it, especially after a long day of work. You know what I'm saying?
It's the perfect amount of spice. It's not too spicy.
No, it's
Yes,
perfect.
Yes, and I'll give you a little quick rundown. I'm drinking the Dirty Pelican Spicy Skinny Margarita, and I'm adding in my tequila alternative, Trejo's Spirits. You remember Trejo? He's the actor.
Oh, I do.
I mean, you know Trejo from movies
yeah.
and shit, you
How
know?
could you not?
He actually got sober about 10 years ago, I'm pretty sure. I don't want to, be quoted for that, but he started this, zero proof tequila alternative. It tastes amazing. I want you to try it at the end of the
I will. I would
episode.
love
Yeah.
to. Yeah,
Maybe we'll do a shot. to
Let's do
toast.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because, I'm a mocktailer. It's been over a year, but, enough about me. Let's dive deep into Missy.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
But
so
also,
we've
congratulations on that.
Oh,
I
well,
like
thank
that.
you. Let's cheers to
that.
Cheers.
Honey.
Cheers,
Yeah,
cheers.
let's fucking go.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have some messy questions for Missy just to get to know her.
Mm.
We're gonna have a little bit of fun today.
Yes, we're going to start off with a little bit of educational, funny, messy questions for Missy.
Yes. So you can't read these, right?
You
your eyesight?
You know
'Cause
what?
these
These
were
are
your
big
questions.
enough. These are big enough.
Okay.
Okay. See, she makes fun of me. She's always been on my
Needs to
ass.
get
I need to
glasses.
get glasses. I
Yeah.
had them. I lost them. Do you have glasses?
I have contacts, but
Mhm.
I can read that barely. You know what I'm saying? So we're all right. We're all doing good.
Yes. No judgment here. Missy, what? We're going to just dive in.
Do it.
You
Let's
okay?
do it.
Okay.
Let's do it.
What's the most trouble you have caused at a wedding party or an event?
So that's a great question. And it was actually, I guess maybe it was pre-wedding, and it was my own wedding. Yeah. And I had invited some folks to be part of my wedding party.
Yeah.
And frankly, they were on my last damn nerve. And I said,
They were on your last damn nerve.
they were.
What were they doing?
Everything was a problem. The dress was a problem. The shoes were a problem. The color was a problem. My hair was a problem.
No.
That's right. And then I was driving on 19. I'll never forget it. I hit a red light, and she was like yapping in my ear about whatever it was. And I was like, you know what? Sounds like we're done here. And she's like, what do you mean? I said, you're out of the wedding. And she was like, you can't be serious. I was like, oh, as the hell I am serious. You're done. I was like, if you want to read, I'll welcome you, but you're done. And she's like, I'm not reading. And she didn't come to the wedding, and that was that. We haven't spoken
fuck
since.
Her.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Can we say that?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, fuck her. What's up with that?
Listen.
Good for you. But I feel like you shouldn't have been like having to drive around that day.
Well, it was pre-wedding, but like
I don't care.
we were like planning and all the things,
Yeah.
and she was just like angry elf about everything.
no,
and
no.
I was like, we're done with your energy. You know what I
Angry
mean?
elf.
You did the right thing. You did the right thing.
Yeah. So
I
that was like
that.
it was like a whole thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's fine.
yeah. If you could delete one regret from your life, what would it be, Missy?
Easy. I was offered a job in Hawaii twice, and I turned it down. Yeah.
Salary wasn't
thinking?
good?
I don't know. I think I was like, when you're born and raised in Pittsburgh, you
Yeah.
sometimes stay in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And we think about that, my husband and I, a lot, because he was like really devoted to thinking we were going to buy like this little house on stilts, live off the land. He was going to raise chickens.
That would've
We were
been
going to
cool.
eat pineapple. I was going to like be an educator, and we were just going to be like real,
Loving
beachy
that.
vibe. And then I
Yes.
said no. We talk about that. We talked about it this weekend. It's just like, you know what I mean? It's like that thing, like a what if. And then like full circle, we would have been closer to some of Jax's treatment in California, which I also think
Right.
about. But like,
It's still a 5-hour flight.
it is.
So, I mean, let's just think about it. You 5 hours from
I
Pittsburgh.
mean, that's a great perspective.
Yes.
Thank you for that.
Yes,
That
I'm just
makes
giving
me-
you some insight.
Thank you.
Yeah, because as much as it feels so close, you're like, fuck, it's
yeah,
still
yeah,
5
yeah,
hours.
Yeah. So yeah.
But I like that you still talk about it because whatever, it's magical. It could have happened, but you're with your family. I mean, there is something about the Berg. It might not be Hawaii.
It might not be Hawaii, but you know what? The Berg has treated us so well. The Berg treats
Yeah.
my family in particular because of Jack so well. So like,
Yes.
I gotta send some love to the black and gold.
Yes, and it does suck
And-
you back in. I will say, I was
Oh my
gone
God, it's
for
a
10 years
boomerang.
and I came back. So
Yeah.
and so was he.
She didn't think she would kind of come
No.
back, you
Mm-mm.
know?
Well, my
Yep.
brother came back too. You
Oh
know
my
what
God.
I mean?
Oh my God. Can
Yeah.
we quickly touch before we finish these questions? I
Yes.
really love your brother and his wife. And like when I see TJ Cuban on Facebook, I'm like, how the F how have I not met you before? But
I know.
I mean, now full circle, I'm like, you have the same energy. You might be cooler. He's pretty fucking cool, but I don't know, girl. You fucking walking down the street and being like, what's up? I'm like, is this a bitch like a celeb? Like she gives me like main character energy.
Yes.
I think
We're hanging out more often.
Backstory for the podcasters or for the listeners: we graduated with Missy's brother,
Yes.
and
TJ Cuban.
TJ's wife, and they were two of the nicest
Kayla.
people in high school.
Oh my
and
God.
they ended up together. So
Well, I wouldn't say the nicest.
they were so nice.
They were the
I have nothing
funniest.
bad to say
They
about
were the.
them.
I know. I love them. I'm just
Yeah.
thinking like she.
Oh, they could probably answer some of these questions.
I know.
You know what I'm saying?
I know.
God
I
bless.
know.
Yeah.
So, what is the most awkward, hilarious celebrity encounter?
Oh gosh.
Because I
Okay.
know you've met a couple with doing work for your son.
Yes. So sometimes main character energy kind of gets in my way. and so the Pittsburgh Pirates set us up. Every year they give us a charity box for Jax right at the river so he can see the boats go
That's
by.
amazing.
Oh yeah. And we get to pick a game, and we always pick like the low level games, right? Like we're like, it's not like high impact, high energy.
Right.
And so they give us this whole box, and we had all this food. They feed us like there's 20 of us. There's 4, okay? And so we had all this extra food, and I looked down, and Charlie Batch is down there. And Charlie Batch is with a bunch of kids. I think he might have been with Best of the Batch, his program. And so I'm sitting there with my husband. I was like, hey, look, it's Charlie Batch. I'm like, hey, Charlie. I was like, I have some extra food up here. Do you want it? And he walks over and he's like, yeah, that's great. So there I am loading hot dogs and hamburgers on paper plates, and I'm handing them to Charlie. And as we're going, like, it's like we're age-old friends. And I was like, man, you had some great runs on the Steelers. You know what I mean? And we're like hitting it back and forth. And then at the end, we leave. And all the kids are now eating hot dogs and hamburgers, which I felt really good about that. And we leave, and my husband was like, what was that? He's like, you're just like, hey, Charlie, here's some hot dogs on a paper plate. And I was like, oh, that was weird, huh?
No, we love that.
Okay, well, that's good because then I messaged him on Instagram. I was like, hey, you saw me at the Pirate game. I hope it wasn't weird. I sent you hot dogs and hamburgers, which probably made it weird.
No shame. No shame in your game.
No.
And you have that, like, you got, like, the real, like, authentic, you are 100% yourself. Which I love that about you. I can find that out from your friend who introduced us, and just like following your social media. But what's the time you thought this would be fun and it wasn't?
I was actually telling this story today. So I was super into I am still super into music, and I love just being out at concerts. Good vibes, good energy, right? So I bought tickets to Woodstock 99.
Ooh,
do you know anything about Woodstock?
I do know.
Yeah, it turned wild.
She probably doesn't.
I don't. That's why I'm being quiet.
So Woodstock 99, it was in New York. It was 3 days. They packed us in. They like inflated every price. People went ballistic. People were starting fires. So I'm standing there watching, like, I don't know, the Red Hot Chili Peppers. They get pulled off stage. I turn around. There's fires all around us, okay? People are blowing things up. People were unwell. What? And I was like, what are we going to do? So
unwell.
People were wildly unwell. They had knocked over the porta-johns. They were sliding through the porta-john water, which I'm not sure everybody was thinking through that. Yes.
No.
Yes.
On purpose?
Yes.
Okay.
And so my friend and I were like,
yes,
this is it. We're done. And, I don't have a cell phone. It's like 1999, right? And so we had to walk miles to get out of there. We couldn't get back in. All of our stuff was in a tent miles away. And so I did what any good thinking, like, 19-year-old would do. I ripped a piece of the Woodstock wall. We hopped in a truck and we headed on home. And so I show up. I'm filthy dirty. And my mom showed up. She saw us pull in early. She opens the garage door, hands me a towel, and was like, you're not coming in here. You're disgusted. And you're going to, like, change down here and you're going to be done. It was the craziest experience. And so then the documentary came out. And I was watching it, and I was, like, mortified that I was there. I was like, it looks even worse, when you're living it and then you rewatch it.
Yes.
I'm going to watch it now.
The MTV poll, like, where the guy sat, they knocked it down. People were so angry on how much everything cost and how much people they, like, jammed in that, like, everybody's energy was off, and it was bad.
I know. I mean, I remember seeing a little bit of that documentary. I wasn't there, but I do feel like it's a story to tell.
It is.
You saw that shit, like, firsthand.
I got knocked over in a mosh pit during Rage Against the Machine, and I found $20.
Oh,
wait,
cool.
say it again.
Yeah, so I got knocked over. So, again, mad energy. Got knocked over in a mosh pit while we were there. During, like, a Rage Against the Machine sort of, like, moment, boom, hit the ground. I was like, oh, my gosh, here's $20. And $20 at Woodstock was, like, was getting you a water. That's it. But it was getting you a water.
That's pretty good, like, 25 years ago, though. But, yeah, some people die in mosh pits, but you found $20.
I found $20.
That's good.
And we made it down to the McDonald's in Rome, New York, and got a water.
Jeez.
I called my mom from a payphone, and I was like,
Pittsburgher.
I know. I called my mom from a payphone, and I said, Mom, this is not going well. I was like, I think we're on the news. And she's like, have fun. I mean, seriously, it was so bad.
You guys are fucking hilarious. The Cubans. Leave it to the Cubans. Have you ever accidentally ruined a relationship between friends or family?
Well, I mean, to be fair, full circle, that first story, like, I never talked to, like, bestie for the restie turned never again.
Thank God.
When I kicked her out of the wed. You know what I mean?
Oh, you did?
Yeah, like when
Wait,
I kicked
the
her out of
day of? Or?
No, not the
Okay.
day of. Maybe like a couple weeks before.
Good
She
for you.
may have had the dress, and she may have had to pay for it. But I mean, it is what it is. You know what I mean?
Right. I mean, she does not deserve to treat her like bride friend to be.
No, and she called me a bridezilla, and I was like, sis, I'm not a bridezilla. You know what I'm saying? I'm just tired of dealing with your mouth.
Yeah. Skirt. I mean, what the fuck? Like, I mean, honestly, you pick self-respect over putting up with that bullshit.
I was petrified for the day of because I didn't want to listen to it. So I was just like, we're
good
done.
For you.
Cut the cord. Be done.
And you don't have any animosity from that.
Oh, you know what? No, I'm actually like, you know what? Wasn't meant to be. Toodaloo. You know what I mean?
Toodaloo. Exactly. Deuces.
Yeah. Peace.
I think we all need to educate some people, like even like old relationships or friends and family, just because you're blood. Like if they're not serving you at this stage of your life in our 30s, 40s, 50s, like get rid of them.
Okay.
Let go.
So, Missy, it was great to get to know you a little bit. That was
Thanks.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think what we're all here for, and like more importantly, we want to talk about Jax.
Yeah, let's talk about Jax.
We're going to get into those
'Kay.
questions for you. Can you share more about Jax's journey from being a healthy baby to being diagnosed with IPEX? What were some of the early signs that led to his diagnosis?
Yeah. So, that's a journey. That's a journey of 1,000 miles. So, Jax was born happy, healthy, checking all the boxes. We were brand new parents, like living, like thought we were living our best sleepless lives, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And fast forward to, it was Thanksgiving, and he was 2.5. I had just had my son Lincoln, so Jax is 2.5 years older than him. Lincoln was a newborn. And I thought Jax was acting off, but I was like, he had never been sick before, so like let's live this out. Maybe this is our first time. And I remember so vividly calling the like the pediatric person on call, because it's a holiday, of course.
Right.
And they were like, oh, you know what? Just like live it out, do the vaporizer, you know, keep him well, like keep him like comfortable. And I thought, okay, but this feels weird. This feels different. And so next morning, it's now Black Friday, and we were going to go get a Christmas tree. And I remember I said to my husband, Pete, I was like, something's wrong. Like, this isn't right. So I put him in, and we took him to, like, Children's Express. I left Lincoln at home with Pete, and I took Jax. And when we walked in, I remember I ended up throwing it away, but it was a skull blanket. I love sugar skulls. Like, I love that whole vibe, right? So he's wrapped in this sugar skull blanket. He had his little beanie on, and they saw us in the waiting room, and they came out to get us. And there's, like, tons of kids there. And they got us first. And I thought that was weird because we had just shown up, and they were like, hey, we want to check your son's blood sugar. And I was like, what do you mean? And they were like, yeah, we think he might have type 1 diabetes. I was like, no, he doesn't. I was like, we are unwell here. Like, this is not how this adventure is going. I think he has a virus. Turns out they put us in an ambulance and sent us to Children's Hospital. I was there. By the time we got there, he ended up in a coma because they thought they had to protect swelling of the brain. His body was giving out on him. And so that was our first adventure into finding out eventually that was all caused by IPEX. So he resulted in having type 1 diabetes, and we had this little newborn at home. We ended up spending like 14 or 17 days in the hospital. I'm like sleeping at Children's Hospital in their like floor pull-out bed with a nursing a newborn and taking care of a 2.5-year-old who, quite honestly, it felt like 2 newborns because we already had, had to learn how to take care of Jax now, and then we had Lincoln, and then after that, the ball just kept rolling in very bad ways for him that resulted in so many hospitalizations. I watched him almost lose his life so many times. My husband wears earbuds to sleep every night, and it's because, he had spent a majority of his time, one of the times he was in a coma at the hospital with him, and those beeps, I think, just really, it's a lot for people to manage. And so, fast forward to all of those things, we had finally met some docs, and they were like, hey, like, this doesn't feel good. And I said, right, everybody's been telling me it's bad luck. I was like, this is way more than bad luck, folks.
Yeah.
Like, we need an answer. And that's how we ended up finding out that he had IPEX. But that was a long time to go before we got there.
Do you have any blame for people not being able to identify that sooner?
I think that I don't have blame that they didn't find it. I have blame they didn't listen to me. Because all along I was like, this is more than bad luck. Like, I have 2 kids now, and one responds far differently than the other. And I kept asking, like, people that had kids with type 1 diabetes, I was like, is this how they react when they're sick? And they're like, no. And I will never forget a medical professional had said to me, sometimes this kind of thing happens, type 1 diabetes, when a really emotional, traumatic event occurs. And I'm holding Lincoln as a newborn. And I was like, what are you saying? They were like, like the birth of a sibling. And I was like, wow, you just put in a new mom's head that my older son is sick because I had a baby. And that is just, that was my first venture in understanding that I need to be a really big voice and a really big advocate in my family's life.
Absolutely.
Yes, I mean, we've heard navigating the healthcare system can be very challenging.
Yes, and teaching hospitals are awesome because it teaches folks how to be great professionals, but also you have to navigate that piece, when you see your son dying and they're like, and I'm like, no, we're moving on, and we need to get some folks in here that are skilled, right? And you have to trust your gut. That at the end of the day, I tell everyone, even the kids, anybody that I come in contact with, trust your gut because it's probably right. And had I not, I think I would have lost Jax a long time ago.
Yes,
I do think a mother always knows. So could you go into a little more detail about IPEX and its daily effects on Jax's life and some of the symptoms and challenges he faces?
Yeah, so IPEX is a really rare autoimmune disorder. It's life-threatening. 1 in 1.6 million people have it. I have it, actually. And so the neat thing about science is that, women have 2 X's, men only have 1. And so his shows the symptoms, my X wraps it up and is quiet. So I won't ever be ill or unwell. And in fact, had I not had boys, I would have never known I had IPEX.
Right.
Yeah. And in fact, it's in most of the females in my family is what we've found out. So,
and Lincoln does not.
Lincoln does not have IPEX. Yeah, so we had to get him tested to see, 1, if he had IPEX, and 2, if he was a match, because the only known cure is a blood stem cell transplant or a bone marrow transplant. And so we had to get him tested for that. And I always say, I can't celebrate he doesn't have it because, how can you celebrate it? It's just check the box. We don't have to deal with that is really what that is. But yeah, IPEX is funny because it creates all of these autoimmune disorders. So a little tiny virus is really exacerbated for Jack. So he's not under, people think that he has no immune system. He has Mach 10 race car immune system. He's like Formula One. So once something comes in, it's I'm obliterating that and whatever it's in his way. So it's going to be organs and tissues and things like that. So that's why he continues to acquire autoimmune disorders. So little viruses can have really long-lasting big impacts because he has myasthenia gravis too, which affects the eyes and the nose and the breathing and the chewing and all of the things. And usually that's in the elderly, not a 5-year-old.
Right.
Because he was diagnosed with that at 5. So it's just been a journey.
And you still remain this high, optimistic,
Yeah.
positive mother, psychologist, if I may say.
Yes.
And just you really do shed this bright light that people want to be around you. And this is something that you need to educate everyone about. And this is part of your being. I could feel it.
Yeah, it's about the universe provides. And so what you give out into the universe, you're going to get back. That's what I really believe. And so the more that I can be out there, and I'm not going to just be an advocate for Jax. I'm going to talk about the disparities on the bone marrow or the stem cell registry. I'm going to talk about the disparities in the care that we've received because my little story can impact many, many people. We've saved so many lives in the work that I've done so far. We've registered over 7,000 folks in Jax's honor. I get countless calls that my cousin signed up for Jax, but he got a call that he's a match for somebody else. TJ was a match for somebody in Florida. He ended up not going the whole way because they found somebody else that was a closer match.
Right.
But again, lives are being saved. And so, you know what? I'm going to get back what I put out. And so if I can put out grace and love and support and advocacy for other families who are experiencing the heartache I have, then I'm going to get that back twofold.
Right. So to go into it a little more, what does Jax need to undergo for the bone marrow transplant, and why is finding a match specifically challenging due to his Latino background?
Yeah, so the registry as it stands today is not incredibly diverse. So if you are Caucasian, 85-90% chance you're going to get a match. Anybody else, like Hispanic and Latino, and that's 100% Hispanic and Latino, you have less than a 50% chance. Black Americans, less than a 30% chance. And it's all because there's not enough diversity on the drive as it stands. And so my goal is to, one, find a match for Jax, but two, give folks a voice. Every person should have a match, right? Every person should have a second chance at life, and they deserve that as humans. And so I'm in those underrepresented communities, educating them on why they should be on the match, because there's a lot of medical trepidation for those underrepresented communities, right? They have been treated poorly in the past. And so it's getting them to understand you're joining to help your community. You're raising up your community. You're saving your neighbors. You're saving your family members. You're saving other communities like yours, right? So get on the registry and save yourselves, because it's all about saving ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about how, like, important community is. Are there any, like, uplifting stories for the community? I know it's a small one right now, and
so many.
yeah.
So our community is really, really big. So we've held events all over the country, including Puerto Rico and Mexico. But even just for my family, like the Pirates I talked about, they give us a charity box every year. They do so much for Jax. They send him like Christmas cards and gift cards and little presents. I mean, who are we? You know what I mean? That's what I'm always like, who are we? Mark Recchi, we met Mark Recchi at one of our events. And he was like, you know what I can do? Sid the Kid, we're going to get him a jersey. So he sent Jax a jersey. Jax's face, like, it showed up. We got home from California because I entered Jax in a clinical trial to help save him because we haven't been able to do anything else otherwise. So this jersey shows up when we come home from California. He was just beaming because it's just us in essence, right? But like all of these people do these beautiful things. It's just little drops in a huge bucket of hope and love. I'm part of the Rotary Club because, again, giving back is really important to me. I ask a lot of people to do a lot of things for me, and so giving back is part of that. But we took over a bar, actually, in my town, and all the Rotary members were I was a bartender, and we were servers, and all the proceeds went back to Jax. I mean, these people are coming up with these events to help spread the word and get people on the registry and fundraise for us to be able to go to California and go to Stanford. Well, Lucille Packard Children's Hospital, be part of Stanford University trial just to help do something. And it's, and they're like, but it's just little. I'm like, it's not just little.
No.
These are huge acts of kindness.
Absolutely. And what was the bar that you guys had?
Shoe Brew.
Shoe Brew?
Yeah,
okay.
Shoe Brew right in our town of Zelienople. We overtook it. We were all the servers and bartenders and everything. I loved it. I was like, oh, I could do this. I loved sitting behind that bar talking to everybody, hearing their stories. They were excited to see me. Serve them a little hot pretzel and a cocktail.
Definitely. That energy is infectious.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
What would you like to say to listeners who might be inspired to join the Be a Match registry or support families like yours?
I would say never turn down the opportunity to be a walking hero. I think that if you can give the gift of life, why not? And it's such an easy concept. It's the swab of a cheek. And when you hear bone marrow, it's now really about blood stem cell. And that's just like a plasma draw.
That's nothing.
So that's just blood. They're just taking blood and taking the plasma from it. That's all it is.
Yeah, they're taking the stem cells from it. So it goes through a centrifuge. It's like a whole thing over the course of a couple hours. Be the Match is now NMDP. They pay for everything. They'll pay for your dog sitter, cat sitter. They will pay for all of your food, room and board. If you have to go somewhere, if you have to do anything overnight, they'll no stone unturned to help save a life. Why not?
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's an incredible thing. And, you could get the call. You may never get the call. Yeah. I know somebody that saved 2 lives personally. I mean, that's the gift, right? That's it. That's the.
And your brother was going to as well. Help somebody.
He was. He went through the whole kit and caboodle because they do a physical for you. They do some blood labs just to make sure you're healthy enough to donate. And then ended up, it was a female from Florida. And, it really comes down to a lot of nuance. And just this one lady had an edge on TJ. But they said to him, we might call you back if this doesn't work.
Now, let me ask you this. Why were the 2 matches for Jax not, you don't really know why they weren't able to follow through?
I don't. I suspect that they just became largely unavailable.
Okay.
So one of the events that we did, we were so fortunate to be able to do the shell plant in Beaver. And that was a huge diverse opportunity. There was people from all over, from Puerto Rico, from Mexico, from the Dominican, from Guatemala, and they were all here working at the shell plant. And the lawyers, when I was talking with them, they were like, we don't usually do this. I'm like, but come on. Think of all the lives that you can save. They let us in. And the company then, they gave them all bonuses, and it was a huge event. We had over 700 people join, and I think by the time their name hit, they probably were left the United States, and we couldn't find them.
Okay, because we want to be pushing this message. We want to get involved. We might not be a match, but why would we not be able to, get involved and test ourselves for,
that's right.
And, being like an advocate for, not only Jax, but like you said, why not give an opportunity to save a life?
And it's really so easy. And I think even just sharing the story. So that's what I always say. If nothing else, people are always like, needles, I'm afraid of needles. I'm afraid of this. I can't do this. And I'm like, listen, share his story. Talk about it, because he's not the only one that needs this, right? And so if it becomes just this commonplace thing where we all are just like, oh, yeah, we can do that. Or, oh, yeah, I know somebody who might be able to help in this way. 6 degrees of, 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon? Somebody knows somebody. We're always going to be able to help somebody,
Exactly.
And it's just about spreading love in the word.
Now tell us what you go ahead, Kelly.
Go ahead.
Tell us what your messy debauch, since it is in line with Mocktails are messy.
It is.
What's your messiest, debaucherous, crazy, drunken college story for us?
All right. Well, I talked about this one today, too, because I was like running it by a few people. You know what I mean? I was like, is this good? So we... before Ubers were cabs, little known fact, right? And so I was of the cab era. And so I used to take cabs all over the place. And so I took a cab with my friend down to the south side, and then we were heading back to Oakland to just continue the day, let's say.
You were a Pitt girl.
Yeah. Pitt is it. HTP.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Pitt is it.
Pitt is it.
Let's fucking go.
Yeah, let's go. So anyway, heading back, and I felt like the cab driver was taking a long way around. And I thought, this is weird. But again, there was a lot at play. So we end up circling around, and he pulls into a driveway that was not our final destination. And he gets out and locks the doors. And we were like, what are we doing here?
No.
Yeah. So don't worry, it's a great ending. So he leaves, and I say to my friend, I was like, we got to get out of here. But the door's locked from the inside. So I jumped up front, took matters into my own hands because he had the keys, pushed out the window with maybe a foot, jumped out, got her out, and we sprung the joint. So we ran to the next destination, and they were like, what's going on? Because, of course, we'd come in, we're like, main character energy. I didn't enter just like it was any old day, right? So I tell them what happened. The dude shows up. So they ended up having to call the police, and it was a whole thing. It ended well. But
Was he trying to kidnap you?
I don't know. I mean, the next day I really had to
That's
reflect on that and be
scary.
like, was I being dramatic?
No, I would have done the same thing.
Oh my
Yeah.
god! Did
My
you have
friend
like
was like,
heels
"You don't wanna be
on?
taken
and,
out
like,
of boot."
It was winter, so you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Womp, out it
Oh my
went.
god!
Yeah,
that is
listen,
scary.
you know what I'm saying? We're
That's
taking care of business.
Horrifying. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
also, I have to be honest. The next day, we sat on the couch for a long time thinking about that, and I was
Yeah.
like, was that a little mishap, a little mix-up in communication? I don't know, but it ended well.
Makes you wonder. Yeah. Wow. That is really something. That's a
I
good story. That might be our
know.
best one. Yeah.
I know, and
Yeah.
I didn't
It's
mean
one
to
for the
cut you
ages.
off.
That's okay. Yeah. How can people to wrap up here? How can people stay updated on Jax's journey and help spread awareness?
Yeah, so if they want to join the registry, you can get a kit sent to your home, and all they have to do is text Jax Ramirez PA to 61474.
Okay.
Find us at any old event. I'll be at Pitt this Saturday,
What's the number?
61474. So it's Jax Ramirez PA to 61474. They can follow us on social media. I'm incredibly active.
Yes, she is.
I am-
She's good to follow.
Yeah. Oh, thanks. Yeah. So it's at Be the Match for Jax on Instagram and Facebook, and then Jax Needs a Hero on TikTok, where you might see me, like, showcasing a few fun items
So
and talking
easy
about
to
Jax.
remember. At Find the Mat or
Be the Match for Jax.
Be the Match for Jax, and that's JAX.
JAX, and then Jax JAX Needs a Hero.
Nice.
Yeah.
Missy, you were such a bright light. Thank you for being here.
Yes.
We want to be here for you. You're very special. You're a very special person. We can
Oh,
tell, right?
thanks.
Of
Yeah.
course, not
Oh.
just the main
Yeah.
character. You're definitely meant to be in this position and help others, including your son.
Yeah.
And we want to give back as much as you do. So thank you for inspiring us.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks for letting me be here. This was like a bucket list item, so check.
Oh
it
my God!
off.
I want to get you started. You and maybe your buddy.
Let's do it. I think
Uh-huh.
we might have a journey in this
I
place,
know.
you
We
know
might
what I
have
mean?
some production assistants involved. Cheers.
Yes, honey. Thanks for watching Mocktails or Messy with Missy from Missy.
Yeah, Missy. Let's go. All the M's, right?
It was a tongue twister.
Oh, for
Yeah, it
sure.
is.
For sure. Thank you guys for watching. We're so happy to have Missy in the studio. This is Ryan Frankowski, and
Kelly Misgorski.
cheers.
Cheers.